All right. I think we are live. Finally. It's been what? A week now since our last recording. Uh, in my defense, I had a pretty busy week last week with my day job. So, um, yeah, I was not able to sit down and actually do a stream. There were lots of late night work. But anyway, we are back. We are sitting down and showing up. So let's see. I guess for this stream, it's gonna be a relatively short stream. We'll take a quick initial look at a tool called Merly Mentor. And this comes about from our reading of the machine programming three pillars research paper. We did a stream. It was a 2-part stream, and we went over that. And I was able to actually reach out to Justin. He actually has a channel on YouTube, by the way. Really good stuff. I definitely should check it out. Let me see. Justin. I guess I can just copy this. Yep. He has. Wait, is that actually him? Or is that an AI rendering of him? He's looking jacked over here. Okay. Justin, I was not familiar with your game. Gonna be like Shaq. I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game. Yeah, man. Justin, what happened? Either this is AI or 3 years ago you were really pushing some weight. I mean, this is just an observation. I guess from your recent videos, it doesn't seem like this person here looking all jacked up doesn't seem to be the same. You don't seem to have the same body composition, which is fine, by the way. Just an observation. I don't know. It just really jumped out to me. But anyway, yes, Justin um, has a channel where he talks about
Okay.
uh, machine programming stuff. He's the founder, or at least co-founder, and CEO of MerlyAI. So anyway, I was able to reach out to him. By the way, Armando Solar Lazama. I'm hoping I'm saying this right. He's another cracked researcher in the field of program synthesis slash machine programming. You should, if you're interested in this whole field, program synthesis and just machine programming stuff, he's got some really good I mean, I haven't read them, but he seems to be one of the more, I don't know if prolific is necessary, because I mean, it's not like I know so many researchers in the field, but his name is quite, I don't know if popular is the right name. I guess you could say he's a sort of a celebrity in the research world of, machine programming slash program synthesis. I think that's the right way to put it. Anyway, he's one of the people to follow, you know. Anyway, so I was able to reach out to Justin and MerlyAI, and they were very responsive, and they actually gave me access to the tool, Merly Mentor. And the idea is that, so to bring it, I mean, to kind of relate this to the position paper that we read, and we did two streams on this. Excuse me. And there are three pillars per the name of this paper here. You have the intention, the invention, and the adaptation, right? And one of the arguments that is my takeaway from reading this, and I think Justin himself probably would agree with this, it's that really the first step to really getting this thing right, this journey to machine programming, where we really are using the AI tools or the AI models to their full capacity, and really are advancing the field of software engineering. If you believe in that, in things evolving in that direction, then the very first thing that we really need to, think about, or at least solve, maybe not solve completely, right? But at least have a pretty good handle on it. We need to start building tools that enhances, or at least, give us, the humans, and and also the machines, really, the ability to extract slash derive intent from code, right? The biggest challenge, or at least one of the biggest challenges in software engineering is the ability to truly understand what is actually happening from, like, the code that is written. What is it actually doing, and how confident we feel about the things that it is supposed to do and the things that it actually does, right? And we've built so many tools to help us do that. Even something as simple as a linter, right? The idea of a linter is that it imposes some kind of checks and balances, so that, there is a class of issues that we can deal with before the program even runs, right? It's a bunch of things that we've built in order to basically maintain and give us the illusion give us the illusion that we truly understand uh, the code that we're writing, right? Um, so being able to extract and just uh, derive the intention in a code base is going to be really important. And I believe Merly Mentor is a tool that is meant to help us on that journey. And so, I mean, I guess we can just kind of dive into it. And I mean, just by looking at the interface, so once you log in, and let's say it's your first time or whatever, you basically are prompted to add a repository. As you can see, I've added a few. These are just repositories that I've come across. Some of them are ones that I've personally committed code to. All of them are open source repositories. And right away, I guess in the overview / summary / I guess dashboard view of the repositories, you get to see at a glance these score values that are being assigned to the code base. And it's supposed to kind of give you an idea of it's a quality metric, basically, this score, right? And as you can see, per the color, the coloring, the green really means that, by however the metric is being computed, getting a grade / excellent should be the target, right? And when that's not the case, you will see that there is a non-small amount of things that should be addressed, right? So if you look at this one here, you have a lifetime score and a current score, right? And both are excellent. And this basically translates into having a very small, in this case, only 2 issues. And what's good is that for each issue, you can also see the priority of these issues and really decide if it's a minor thing or it's more like a high. I think so far I've seen critical, high, and I don't think it's minor, the third one, but it's something, right? So really, if you were a project maintainer or something like that, what you would immediately care about is the high priority and the critical priority. So you always want those 2 to be as low as possible. And you also get a graph, right, that basically shows you the score over time. And ideally, over time, I think it's very reasonable to expect a code base to just keep on growing, right? You're adding more code, there are more contributors, more features. Sometimes even when you're refactoring, for whatever reason, you may end up actually with more code rather than less. Anyway, so here over time we can see that the lines of code is increasing, but the overall score is relatively steady, right? And that's a good thing. What you definitely don't want is to start somewhere here, right? Up here somewhere, and then find yourself just dropping as the number of lines of code keeps increasing. You don't want the quality score to go down. That's a sign that something is not going well. And if you're a project manager or somebody or even a developer on a project and you have a tool like this, it then helps you, keep an eye out on the quality of your code base and being able to flag that as quickly or as early as possible, right? Because in terms of bugs or just overall quality, the sooner you're able to get to it, the better. That's just you don't need a whole lot of wisdom to just understand that. But you'll be surprised by how um, on but how even with that common sense uh, uh, idea, we just gonna let things get worse, right? Especially if you're in an organization where they definitely see the technical side of things as it's not really taken seriously, and you don't even sometimes have a say at the table, right? So you can't even argue and make the case for making a budget in terms of time and focus for trying to make improvements to the code rather than just keep adding features. So just having this visualization here can really, it's the kind of thing that you can use to justify, well, in this case, things are looking good. But if you're in charge of this and you see something like this, right, where the number of lines of code is increasing, but the quality seems to be slowly going down, and now you got to a point where you're starting to have a scenario where the quality is just not keeping up with the amount of code that is being added. So this is something that you would want to flag, to the team and be like, hey, if we keep going and not keep an eye out on the quality level of the code base, it's gonna hurt us later, right? Another thing is, so you do get this analysis, these summaries. They are quite useful. I read some before getting on the stream. I don't think that we need to go over each one of these. But this one is a nice one. I don't know them, but I follow them on Twitter, and I I was aware of this too a long time ago when they were doing a PhD thesis on what has become DBOS Transact. Um, I forget what the initial name was, but it was actually written in Java. Because I remember seeing that, and I stored the repository. And I think shortly after that, I saw a talk by Stone Baker, I think his name is. The guy who made this was one of the people who wrote Postgres. I think he's the CTO of this company, DBOS. Let me fact check that. Yep. Okay. Co-founded. Yes. And I think that's because no, I don't think he was the PhD because I don't think he teaches right now. But yeah, MIT R&D. This is in fact true because I remember coming across the initial repo by these two guys. I mean, these two people. A while ago, like a long time ago. And I'm pretty sure that I'm also the very first person who forked the DBOS repo when they first put it out. Because I was definitely following them. And they also had another research paper where they wrote a protocol for I think it was a consensus protocol where you can do transactions across multiple databases, given that you had I guess you can call it a control plane database, like a central or primary database that then coordinated a transaction across these different databases. So maybe you have, and I think in a research paper they took Postgres as an example of a central database or a primary, and then you can have a MongoDB database, a MySQL database, or I don't know what's another example. MS SQL server. Anyway, so across those databases, you're able to do a transaction. This is not a Petercraft I'm looking for. This is the Petercraft I'm looking for. Let me see. Distributed consensus database. It was a pretty interesting paper. Yeah, Petercraft. Yeah, I think this is the one. Epoxy. Yes, that's the one. Yep. Yeah, it's an interesting paper. I recommend it. And oh wait, so Stonemaker is actually teaching at MIT right now? For some reason, I don't know why I didn't register that. Yeah, he is a professor at MIT right now. Well, I don't know if it is right now, but I guess at the time that they were publishing this, he was. Yeah, okay. So here it is. It was apiary. Yep, it was in Java. Uh, yeah, and I remember liking this, and that's how I started following these guys, Kraft and what's her name, Kian Lee. Hope I'm pronouncing this right. But anyway, DBOS. I like the idea of it because I do subscribe to the idea that the database is everything, and I definitely subscribe or I'm on board with Michael Stonebreaker's journey to rewrite uh, DOS as a database. Hence, the name of the company now being DBOS. He gave a pretty good talk about that. You can look it up. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, coming back to this. Anyway, the point of all that, before we went on a tangent there, I just remember reading this and finding it to be, a nice touch. And I do believe this because I remember looking through the commits early on, and yeah, Peter Kraft was really cranking through the features and stuff. Kian too, uh, and yeah. I mean, this would be again if you're a maintainer or a project lead. This is interesting information to have. Um, Reflecting on the project's history, the period from August through October 2023 was marked by successful increases in code quality relative to the growth in lines of code, setting a vital precedent for future development efforts. This period was particularly noteworthy because it maintained a balance between development speed and issue resolution. This is a hard balance to maintain. You probably have a better chance at doing that early on rather than later. Um, by observing best practices from this time, such as focus bug sprints, and efficient communication among team members, the current team can find inspiration to replicate, similar successes while avoiding the pitfalls of past periods that lacked these elements, continuing to foster a collaborative and adaptive development environment will be key to sustained progress. So, yeah. I mean, again, at first you may, kind of wonder, okay, key to sustained. Sure, like whatever. But if you think about it, from if you're anyone who's worked in open source or you've been in a position where even at your day job where you are kind of responsible for a group of people and the work that they're doing, this kind of information is definitely useful. Actually, yeah, let's maybe look at some of these. Okay, so the other ranking was low, so I think it's high, critical, and low. So let's look at one of the high ones. Let's give it another chance. Excuse me. Thinking. All right. So let's see. So if you're just reading the code ourselves, so this is deploying the app code. We need the information for the host, the whole, okay. I feel like this is ambiguous as to what. As in, I guess the host will be whatever node on which that has been assigned to this tenant for this particular app or a particular project. Rollback, previous version. This is an interesting combo. I have a feeling that I have a I feel some type of way about this, and I don't think I'm finding the right. I'm looking for the right words to express this. Okay, at first, or at least not having a whole lot more context than what I do right now. So it seems like the point of this too is that if you were to do a rollback, you will do a rollback to this specific version. But then is that regardless of what the current version is? Because if you're specifying this like this, if you're specifying this like this, if you're specifying this parameter or this argument here, then it's fair to assume that the current version of the app may not be the same as whatever this is. And if that's the case, then are you asking to roll back to, are you basically forcing a rollback to whatever you set this to be and just ignore what the current version is, right? And if, assuming that that's the case, I think that there are situations where this will be a problem, right? Unless this is just meant to be a hint. So that if you detect a misalignment, I guess, whatever the provided value is not compatible with the current one, then there is some sort of consistency issue or something. I don't know. My intuition is telling me that these two should be combined into a single argument, because they seem to be, I think they should be tightly coupled, so that there's no ambiguity. Basically saying, if you pack these two into the same argument, into a struct, you're basically saying uh, if a rollback is necessary, I want you to roll back to this specific version, right? Um, anyway, let's move on. Okay, so the app name, username, target, verbose. The number of arguments is growing over here. It's hard to know which ones are actually needed. I mean, okay, you can look at the signature to know which one are needed, because this is not optional. Well, none of them are optional except that, they can be undefined or have undefined default values, undefined or null. But I think it would be nice to be able to have one or two main arguments and then just have an option / configuration object that you can then evolve over time, add keys, remove keys, and then in the body of the function you access the fields of the options object as needed. But I don't know, maybe that's a nitpick. Okay, so start time. Okay, have a get logger, we debug. Excuse me. So we have the user credentials. Why are we... So we are extracting the bear token here, but we never actually use it right away. Or is this performing some sort of mutation, state mutation somewhere, so that by the time you make this request, the token is available in some sort of shared memory or shared storage location at runtime, or even, at runtime, or whether it's in memory or in the file system. Because we are getting the bear token here, but then we're not doing anything with it. So it begs the question, was this call necessary at this point of the execution? Especially because it's a concurrency call, or I think an IO call, and this doesn't look like an IO call. So now you've suspended the execution of your of your function too early. I mean, these things that in theory they don't really, I don't even know if that's true. It's the little things that eat your budget, like if you care about latency and all that. It's these little choices that eat your latency budget, doing work too eagerly. Because now, if you were to enter this branch here, then this call here was a complete waste of time. Right? That was a waste of CPU time, really, because this being an IO call, and I'm saying that because that's what it looks like. going to get a credential somewhere, either through the network or from so there's network IO or uh, is it called the file IO? Why does that sound strange? I mean, it's IO, so there's network IO and file IO. I feel like that doesn't sound right. It's not file IO. There's another. Oh, yeah, it is file IO. For some reason, it just doesn't sound right. But yeah, okay. I mean, yeah. What else would it be called? File IO and network IO. I would assume that this is what this is doing. Uh, which means that you're getting off the CPU. This is an off CPU operation, and then you come back. And even if you look at it just from a state machine, a sync thing, this is a suspension or execution. I mean, there's not much state here except for maybe this, but also the input parameters. Anyway, the point is this probably shouldn't happen at this point based on the code that I've seen so far. In fact, well, okay, I'm just glancing here. I do not see the token. Well, okay, this is a pretty long function actually. My AI tracking is tracking, even though I didn't ask it to. Oh gosh, okay. Let's zoom out a little bit. That's too much. Alright, that's better. Okay. Anyway, then let's just move on. Retrieve application language. Okay. And now we are finally here. So we have the application language, and we are trying to check if it's Node. Okay, so we are interested in either the Node or the Python languages. If there's no package.json file, then we exit. Well, we check for one. Okay, so this is a simple check. Alright, so what does Mentor have to say about this? The given TypeScript code snippet contains a conditional statement that checks if the variable app language is equal to app language's node. Well, whatever the enum is. I'm assuming it's an enum of some kind, which will explain why they have to do as string here. Is equal to that explicitly cast to a string. This condition likely determines the execution of some logic inside the curly braces, although the code block is currently empty. Oh. I don't think that's right. I think Mentor may be having a little bit of a glitch. Unless no, that's the one. Okay. Let's see what else Mentor says. Okay, so representing the application's current language setting. It's one of its properties. Okay. So this is surfacing an issue where as a developer you are forcing some things, but really in reality you have no way of being sure that what you wrote is actually going to work as you expected at runtime, right? Because I mean, you could, in theory, uh, force at least at the type level, pretend that an undefined value is really a string by doing as string like this, but then at runtime it is not a defined value, and if you don't handle it, if you should handle it and you don't, you'll pay the price for it. So I think it's alluding to that issue. Where were we? Yeah, so if it's not that, this will cause a runtime error. So ensure that this is expected to be a string or can be reasonably coarse to a string. If this is an enum, oh, I believe I've seen this and used this myself actually, indexing an enum by its own value. Let me double check, because that feels like something that I've done myself. TypeScript indexing enum. It's one of those wizard move in TypeScript. That you use to be clever, but you also try to avoid having to do that. But it definitely helps in terms of type, having strong typing in your code base. So accessing by index. So you can access it by index to get the actual value, or you can index it by name. Anyway, that was a good refresher. Sometimes you forget the things that the features that a particular language has. And usually that's because either it's too clever or it's just one of those things that you don't necessarily find yourself really needing to use. It's just a nice to have. Or you have other ways around it. Or you're coding in such a way that you don't feel the need to use a feature or that specific feature of the language. Yeah, I think this is a pretty solid recommendation to make, actually. If I was doing a code review, and somebody mentioned this to do this, I will take that. Security concerns. That's a good point. The fact that if there was user input involved, you could be you basically are it's like that gif of the Manchester City gosh, security guard. Was it Manchester City or it was just a Premier League game? I actually don't remember. GIF. Yeah, I think it's this guy. Yeah. This is basically what you're doing. This is what Mentor is saying you're doing. Or you could be doing. This is how you're checking your user input. Oh, this cracks me up every time. This guy is like, mate. These guys are fine. They're fine people, okay? They just want to show up and watch a game. There's no need to check them. What are they going to have? A gun? This is the UK. We don't do that over here. Yeah, this is so funny. Anyway, so that's what Mentor is basically saying, right? It's basically saying if you look at it from a security lens of, if these were user inputs, you're basically opening the door or relaxing your defense for, well, no real good reason. So yeah, validate and sanitize any user input affecting these variables, ensuring that app language only contains expected values. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is yeah, I guess the more I read this, the more I'm really up for this particular method here. So if either app language or app language is not undefined, the comparison may behave unexpectedly. Add null checks or default values to prevent crashes due to yeah, maybe I wouldn't go that far just yet. I mean, yeah, I don't know if the null. I mean, assuming that you have this equality here, this strict equality. I think even if both were, if this was null and this was undefined, I don't think you enter this branch. Now, if both are null, well, if both are null in theory, you will end up here. Because that means that there's actually no, well, in theory, it means that there's no package that JSON, at least none that was intended to be there, or that should be there. I don't know. Yeah. And so you will just end up exiting here anyway. Now, if this was a malicious package, that JSON that made its way into your file system. By the time you get to this point of the code, then yeah, I guess at that point you really have a problem, right? Excuse me. It looks like it's the same. It's the same insight, right? Those two equality checks. Yeah, okay. High priority, bug identification and fixes. So same thing as before. So there's no runtime checks. Ensure that app languages is properly defined. I think there's a formatting issue here. I think this was supposed to be a whole a whole block here. That's alright. Let's see what Insight 2 is. No significant performance concern. I think we touched on the security part already. I don't know that I will classify this as a bug though. Like, does it need refinement? Even that, it depends on who you ask, right? But I will say, yeah, I think the proposed refinement from earlier makes sense. But I don't think I would call it a bug. Okay, readability. Excuse me. Yes, that's fair. Adding a comment. I'm not quite opposed to that. But I can also see somebody making the case for why this is not necessary. Because it's not overly complex to know what's happening. It's just that there are assumptions being made here that could potentially be proven wrong. Right? It's, yeah. So this is a good point. If working with whatever this data definition is, this configuration enum, if that requires frequent casting, consider refactoring to align its type with the surrounding code. That's fair. Okay. I will take that in a code review. I like the other one better though. but this is the case version. Keep it super simple or stupid simple. I think this will be the case version of the other one where you're indexing the enum by the actual enum value. Well, the index of the enum value. So you have the union definition object, a handle for a union value. Use that handle to index into the enum object. But I think this is more like, this is the keep it super simple version, and I mean I like it too. Yeah. I think this is mostly reiterating stuff that we already talked about. I mean, to be fair, there's not a whole lot of details you can dive in here. It's a pretty simple control flow thing. So let's see this one. I think I heard that, well, not surprisingly, I think he lost his job after this got out. I mean, it's like, I mean, you don't like it when people just lose their job, especially over stuff that they've done and just kind of made their way online without their consent. But, you know, it's, it's bad though, what he did. Okay, let's get it back. All right, let's see. So really here, I think the main thing is that it's a okay, they did add a comment, to be fair. Okay, so that kind of helps in evaluating the predicate. So for us just to go over this without even reading all this, so we are looking for the registered app, based on remote metadata. So we have the application database name, and then we compare that to the local version, basically. Oh, okay, that's pretty straightforward. Okay, if it's trophy, yeah. Option of changing for safe access, okay. Yeah, short circuits. Okay, that's a pretty, well, it is an accurate description. So this here, I think this is just so I think what's happening, the reason why he writes this is because um, the model, whatever's powering this underneath, it's not actually receiving the totality of the content or the scoped or code block, I guess. It's just receiving what it's receiving, and obviously its output is also based on that. So I don't think that part of the input included, whatever code is executed within the if block. So because of that, from its perspective, it's empty. Okay, so it doesn't account for all possible cases for falsy values like 0 or false. Okay. I think it's fair to say that these values are expected to be non-empty strings. Yeah, I think it's a fair assumption to make. None needed if we are certain that valid names cannot be such falsy values. Yeah, I think it's fair to assume they're trusted objects. This part here, you know, you never know. Or properly validated earlier. Yeah, we don't really know that. Eh, Again, it depends. I guess, this is basically the whole parse versus validating. So if these objects have been parsed before they made it to this point, then we don't really need to spend a lot of mental energy or defensive programming to validate them. Okay, yeah, that's a good assessment. Well, there is a comment. There's already a comment. Excuse me. Checking for defaults. Hmm. Potential revision. Okay, this is more of a decomposed way of doing things, which I'm 50-50 on whether I will accept this change in a PR. It's 50-50. It will depend on what day you catch me, if I'm being honest. So I would say that's a decent insight. Let's see what number 3 is. I think this might be stuck on the other one. Yeah, it seems like inside 2 and 3 are. Well, I misunderstand what these are supposed to be. It feels like inside 2 to 4 are all based on this and either this or this, but not this. I don't know what that is. Might be a bug. So I think that was an overview of the kind of things you can go over. Obviously, that was just one thing that we looked at. There's a bunch of stuff here. So I think we just actually went through this one. Well, yeah, I actually suspect that you can probably make appropriate changes based on the insights from Mentor in a single PR, because it doesn't seem to be a whole lot of things that you have to change. And at least based on what we've read here, it's changes that are reasonable. Yeah. I think at some point I'm actually gonna use this to, well, I guess I'm gonna do a stream where, ooh, limbo, what's happening? So it's ramping up in terms of the amount of code that's going in, but the quality is it's going down there. It's going down. What's going on with that? Lots of shenanigans here. I mean, yeah. Looking at just a preview of the expression, that does seem like a doozy, something that you probably don't want to sit down and try and figure out. Or maybe it's not that bad. I'm guessing TK means token. Yeah, probably means token. Anyway, I don't intend on actually going through this evening. It's getting late and my eyes are getting super heavy. So I think I'm gonna call it for this evening. This was always intended to be a smaller, or I guess shorter live stream session, about an hour or so. I think that's what we did. Yeah. So that was this very, very quick initial look at Mentor. I'm sure that I'm gonna be using this quite a bit over time, so you'll probably get a chance to see me use it on stream on a fairly regular basis, just to kind of check things out across different code bases. And yeah, I don't even know how to end this except to say good night, and I'll see you around. Thank you.